Fuel tank update, it was leaking, dripping from the fuel tank drain, but basically there's an indent on the tank, so it's not flush where you put a crushable washer up against it. It's got like an indent, and on the actual the bolt that goes in, there's like a little collar on that, so it looked perfect for a rubber seal to go around. So I got a nitrile seal from the boys down in the yard there, and let's see if this does it. I'll show you what I'm up against. So there it is. You see the rubber seal. I'm going to tighten that, and hopefully that will go into the recess where it is. Okay, that's it done up now. Does it look right? Does it look right? Does it? So I've done that up, and let's wait and see. So I put some fuel back in, only about half a gallon. That'll be enough to just see if it leaks. Then I won't have to take too much out if it does leak. That's how it looks now from that side. From that side. It was weak. I tightened it a bit. It leaked, and I've tightened it some more. Let's see what happens. So what I was doing here was checking to see if that surface was clean. So I'd cleaned that up with some sandpaper, some very fine wet and dry, just to try and get a good surface so that my seal would seal, because it was still leaking. So this was really starting to baffle and frustrate me. So I went off to the shops and I bought a little nylon washer, which was exactly the right size, and I cleaned up that surface, so this should have worked. And you can see I'm getting pretty frustrated with this because it still seems to be leaking, but it seems sealed, so I really couldn't work it out. And then oh joy of joys, I think the tank's leaking. I think it's the tank. Right, let's have a look. Right, I'm going to do a scan of the tank really slow, really close up, and see what it shows me. Okay. And there it is. You can just see the reflection of that leaky bit. That's the leak. So here was the drain plug. I managed to get this nylon washer to seat eventually. I've done loads of work under here. Obviously the engine and sail drive's all in. I'm in the water now. And I started poking about under here, so I thought it must be the bloody tank that's leaking. And sure enough, look at that. This is the tank. Rusted away from the inside. Oh man. So basically spent a lot of time, inordinate amount of time, fixing the fuel tank and the new fuel lines and all that stuff, only to find yesterday, when I thought the drain plug was leaking, I tried lots of different types of washer on it, a rubber washer, a crushable washer, a copper one, and then eventually I managed to find a perfectly fitting nylon one. Sealed that up. There's no way that would leak. There's no way. Even if I didn't use that for long term, that was perfectly sealed, and there was still fuel coming out. So I cleaned the area down, and it then looked like the plug itself was dry, but the actual tank was leaking. So basically what's happened is the tank has corroded from the inside. I thought I'd covered all that, cleaned it all out, inspected it. It didn't look too bad in there, but clearly it's eaten through, and so basically it was seeping through the steel where it was almost ready to go, and I managed to get a bradawl and poke it, and it went right through. So there you go, right, that's it. So I'm going to have to replace the fuel tank. Also the calorifier, which clearly is leaking, I'll show you, but it's inside a stainless steel jacket, so you can't really see You can't take it apart to check it. It's too big to take out because the fuel tank's in the way. This is blessing in disguise. I was kicking the can down the road to some degree with the fuel tank and also the calorifier. They're probably the last two items on this boat that were original, that could corrode away. Everything else is, you know, I mean, if the cooker goes, I can get to that. I've replaced the fridge, you know, so there's not much else left that's hard to get to, except this calorifier and the fuel tank. So I don't want to take the engine out, I don't want to take the boat out of the water, so I'm going to try and cut the fuel tank into pieces and take it out in bits, which seems a perfectly viable thing to do, and then put in some smaller plastic tanks, 1, 2, 3 or 4, however many, connect them together to create, you know, however big a tank I want. The other positive is behind the calorifier there is some space. I'll take you there in a minute so you can see. So I'm going to end up with more space as well. I'd like to go electric really, but I can't afford it at the moment, and I don't think the technology is quite there. I think in just a few years time it will be. So if I can make this situation last for me for just a few years, but also make sure the calorifier it can be electrically heated as well. But I'll break those into separate projects, but I'll take you and show you in the cabin now into where the calorifier is, and I'll show you behind it and see what we can gain. Okay, so just going into the rear cabin now. So this little cover, I can lift that out of the way. So that's the calorifier there, right? Nice big one, but it is leaking, as you can see. You can see there's water there. Very sad. And it's not the fittings, it's the actual unit. But look at all this space behind here. There must be about 2.5 feet, and that goes all the way from the sole of the cockpit to there, right down there. So it's probably about 3 feet deep and about 2.5 foot. So that creates a nice area for something. I don't know what we could use that for, but that could definitely be used. So as you can see, this calorifier, there's no way it can come out of this tiny little hole. That's the back of the fuel tank there. How deep is that tank? So that's probably what, 2.5, 3 feet deep, and the length it starts about there, and where does it end? Where's that? Well, that's the fixing bolt there, and there. So it's just under 1 meter long. So here's the front of the fuel tank, and you can see why I was fooled into thinking it was okay, because it is. The majority of it is just at the very bottom of the tank. So that's it. So obviously you can see there's no way that's coming out of there, because it extends way below that little electricity conduit up or across. So I'm going to have to cut it in situ, and whether I cut it in half or a bit more than half, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that yet. That's going to be tricky, but not looking forward to that at all. Shame. So I'm just thinking out loud here and wondering if I was to take out the engine, well, I could move the engine into the saloon here. I might even be able to fit it between the bin and the cupboard there. And if I did that, I think there's enough clearance to get that fuel tank out, which would be easier than cutting it, I think. A lot cleaner and overall less disruption. How heavy is this engine? I'm not sure. Could I lift it by myself? Well, if I put some planks here and here, I could undo the hatch. I can attach a line to the boom, block and tackle up the engine, and that I could probably take enough weight off and far enough forward to slide it out onto the floor here. Then I could probably get that fuel tank out and the calorifier out. That will allow me more space to get into there and clean and prepare the area. It's food for thought. Decided to remove the engine. This is the best thing to do. Things to be careful of here. See my through hull, which is right there. If I don't want to smash that, so I'm going to put something over that to protect it, something solid. I'm going to have to remove the new fuel filters, but again, all this stuff I know is going to come off nice and easy because I've just had it off. Take these off again, they've just been off recently. All the fuel lines, which will come off in the tank, and the exhaust, which I won't split it there because notoriously hard to do. So I'll just take it apart. Here I've got a number of spare gaskets for that. That should come off really easily. I will separate from the sail drive, and I think I've got enough space above the sail drive to pull the fuel tank out. In fact, I know I have. So she will come forward. I've got to remove all the wiring there. That's quite a lot of work. But again, I might be able to get enough slack just to lift that over the top once I've taken my conduit out of the way. Yeah, that's it then. All the electrical connections, obviously. Okay, everybody. So it's a little bit later now. Not that much later, actually. So I've got all the fuel system out of the way. That part of the raw water goes straight to the sail drive, so that doesn't need to come off. Got all the starter off, all the alternator wires off, all the stuff that goes back to the calorifier off. I've got the return valve, return flow fuel off. I've got all the alternator stuff off of this side off. I've got the engine earth off. I've disconnected the sail drive, and the engine moved slightly as I did that, so I think she's free. I can't see anything holding it, so I'm going to set you up on a tripod and see if I can move this thing forward a bit. And then I need to get some pieces of wood, and then I should be able to slide the engine forward. I'd maybe even to put, you know, some rollers underneath each engine mount and just move her forward. Obviously, as she comes out of the sail drive, she'll fall back. That's fine. Actually, that's going to help, isn't it? That might be great. Anyway, stand by. That's just the side of the engine there. I get you to, yeah, so that's the sail drive there. Sail drive, engine. So let's see if we can move this forward. Come on, let's just be a bit brutal with it. Yeah, is the answer. Very easy, actually. So, yeah, that's the drop that we'd expect. Alright, so I need to support the engine at the back. I'm going to leave it there tonight. So what I've done is I've put one engine mount back in. See the back mount is bolted into the front hole, and the engine's really stable. So if it gets rough in the night, which it does sometimes here, that'd be okay. But I'm going to call that quits because I've broken the back of that. Yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a really good tidy up and organise, get a good clean up, get the boat in a good condition, so when I come back the decks are clear and I'm in the right frame of mind then to attack the next phase of the job. So I need to buy some 4x2s and all that to make a nice strong frame, or I might lift it. I could put two big beams across there, take this hatch off, and then just put a block there, and then I could just be able to swing the engine forward to get to about here, and then I could just pop it down on the sole. There'll be plenty of room to get the tank in and out then. So I'm very pleased with that progress. That was much easier than I thought it was going to be. It's all about getting the head in the right place to be able to tackle a job like that. And I was just looking at all the work I've done and all the work I think I'm going to have to undo. But I created a mental carrot for myself by going, well, no, I'm going to get a better tank and better calorifier, and I can clear all that area out, and I'm going to get more storage. So I'm gaining a lot by doing this, and that's the two last crappy bits of the boat dealt with. Okay, so guys, sorry about the sound. So I rigged up this thing across the companionway, and then took off my kicking strap and create a pulley system, and I've lifted the engine out. Not too much effort at all. So pretty happy with that. So there's plenty of clearance now for the tank to come out. Okay, that's the calorifier. Move that out to there as well. So back to the fuel tank here, I'm just going to disconnect all these fillers and breathers, which should be easy enough. Can't see any issues there. And then I'll take out this mounting, and there's the same on the other side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 all together. So let's get on with that. Right, well I want to say that was easy, but getting it out of there, not easy. Bit of collateral damage, bits of scratches and stuff, but I really don't care about that. I can just sand it and varnish it. But next job, colorifier out. All right, so I'll drain it first so it's lighter. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to take off the feed in, cap that, turn on the hot water at the tap, and hopefully that will suck it all the water in there. If it doesn't, I'll pump it out with me little pump. All right, Hoover thing, that'll work. That's it. Colorifier out, fuel tank out. That's heavy. I tried to get as much water out as I could. Now I see there's a drain plug in the bottom, but I couldn't have got to that. I didn't know it was there either. I sucked quite a lot out with the Hoover, a few gas. So that's it. Quite a lot of space there. I need to have a good clean out, see what pipes need replacing. Obviously I may as well do it all while I'm at it, because very hard to get to. So let's play safe. Yeah, look at that. Quite something. Didn't think I'd be seeing the boat like this. Not for a while anyway. C'est la vie. Just so you can see, I've videoed the inside of the tank, and you can see there, look, it's not too bad around the edges, around the back, but when you look at where the water was sitting, you can see it's really quite nasty, especially near the outlets. But wait a minute, what's this? It can't be, can it? Is it a new?